Welcome to Peers, political economic elemental researchers and strategists. At Peers, we stand as your all-in-one partner, adept at steering you through the intricate realms of politics, economics, and business. Join us at Peers. We're our seasoned team with expertise in politics, economy, business, and law is committed to your success. Together, we will navigate the future, making informed decisions that lead to lasting impacts. Follow us on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn to stay informed about how we can help you achieve your goals.
Magandang umaga po. Naimbag na bigat kada kayo amin apo. Maayong buntag, maayong aga. Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to episode 5 entitled Further Pursuit of Local Governance, the Mandanas Garcia Ruling. Streaming live on Facebook. I'm Pierre Tony Avila, and I am thrilled to host this crucial discussion alongside our distinguished experts, Pierre Adrian Tamayo from Mindanao Development Authority, and Pierre Novel Bangsal, the Executive Director of the Congressional Policy and Research Department of the House of Representatives. Today, we delve into the landmark decision reshaping the fiscal landscape of local governments across the Philippines. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin by understanding why today's discussion is so essential. The Mandanas ruling by the Supreme Court has significant implications for local governance, particularly on how local government units will now handle their increased fiscal autonomy. This ruling is pivotal for resource allocation and governance at the local level. Pierre Adrian, could you elaborate on why it's crucial for our audience, especially local leaders and stakeholders, to engage with and understand this ruling?
Ang worry namin is yung mga 4/5, 6
Yes.
plus na communities na LGUs.
Can I have my video turned on?
Na extra
Please.
against the extra functions
Okay.
that
While waiting for that,
are saying
Please just discuss. Thank you.
okay, it's all right. Well, let me begin by telling our audience that Mindanao is very unique. One, it's that it has 6 regions, 10,084 barangays, 33 cities, and 422 municipalities. And we are diverse. However, we express similar intentions, such as the development, our contribution to the country. And you know what, Pierre Tony, 61% of the ethno-linguistic groups are actually found in Mindanao. So that means we have really unique
Yeah.
way of spending. We have practically in services. You have unique way of understanding and pinpointing services of the government, such as identifying where are those areas needing particular improvement. And we know, given the 61% ethno-linguistic groups, there is that requirement of the free and prior informed consent. And that is practically embedded in the way the local government units spend. In particular, we would provide you, therefore, some figures on the conditions of Mindanao, because at the rate by which we do and spend, the LGUs actually spend 46% on the average for general public services. And if you could see some of the figures that we could provide you, that our roads, connectivity happen to be still needing particular attention. the rate by which we are doing it, no, out from the plan of the national government. 3,000 kilometers had been provided with a particular a budget out, which is actually 30% to 40% of the target of the national government. We also need some evacuation centers. We also need some regional and local provincial health units. And there are plenty of barangays that remained waterless. 55% of it are actually found in Region 13. And we would also inform the need for public health clinics. Now, what I am saying, why I am saying this, it's because the spending by which this should be are provided in the capacity of the local government units, because it's the local government you practically know, understand, could articulate well the needs of the particular local government, not those that are coming from identified from the national, because the way by which the parameters are this included are actually all this having no similar standards with the rest. But in Mindanao, we have a unique way. In particular, as I have mentioned, we need to get first the consent of the IP communities, the free and informed prior consent, FPIC. And therefore, as it is instituted in the Constitution, no, the autonomy, that autonomy should not only be provided with the capacity to do, identifying those what are should be devolved to the government, but also the capacity to spend for those items, those services. In fact, Peer Tony, the Mindanao LGU spent 46% on general public service, and only around 31% expenditure on the social services. 21% on the welfare services. We have to improve that because Mindanao is already doing well. One is that the Caraga region gross domestic product has already doubled up because of security condition. BARM, with the implementation of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the poverty incidence went down by 16.4%. So the security, it's already safe. The question of are we safe? The safe na talaga ang Mindanao. But the next level would be those things that were left behind because of the problems of security before are items that are on the plate that should be provided with particular attention. That's why this discussion, Peer Tony, is very important to Mindanao.
Thank you very much, Peer Adrian. Indeed, it is very important to discuss the increased resources given to LGUs, given the huge resources, huge responsibilities that we have to undertake. And so it's really important to discuss this. Now, moving on, I'd like to ask about the recent developments, regarding the implementation of the Mandanas Garcia ruling. Can you give us some updates, Peer Novel?
Thank you, Peer Tony. So, okay naman yung audio ko, Sir Tony, ano? Peer Tony.
Yes, please.
Okay, so, yung update kasi natin sa, well, basically kasi ang full devolution is parang stated in the Executive Order 138 nung panahon pa ni President Digong. So what is happening right now is that based on that EO, yung full devolution sana supposed to happen this year, 2024. But apparently, the president has ordered NEDA to conduct and complete a full study of the full devolution, and submit it to the office of the president by this year, I think February ata. And at the same time, si President also directed the ILG in collaboration with ULAP to come up with a list of basic functions and services that the LGUs should be performing based on their submitted devolution transition plans. So, basically, binibigyan ni Presidente ang DILG up to January of this year to submit to the President yung kanilang list of devolved functions, or a month earlier than the analysis report nung NEDA. So basically, what will happen is that mamumove yung schedule nila to 2027. So these are on the condition that yung NEDA will be submitting a study on the full devolution of based on the basis ng EO 138, as well as yung nung DLG. Okay lang ba, Sir Tony, to extend yung aking discussion?
Sure, please.
Oo. Kung sana ma-present lang yung slide para lang makita kasi anong nangyayari on the ground. Kasi remember yung SC ruling on the Mandanas and Mandanas ruling, na-implement na po yun. Basically, what is happening right now is that yung revised sharing dun sa internal revenue allotment, which is now called as the National Tax Allotment, NTA. So basically, yung SC ruling ngayon, Supreme Court ruling on the Mandanas petition, expanded yung share ng local government units doon sa total national government revenue collection. So basically, it's the same pie po yun. Lumaki lang po yung share ng LGU from that pie. Because ngayon, kasama na po sa computation yung collection ng Bureau of Customs.
Yeah.
So basically, there is a 30% increase in what the LGUs are receiving compared doon sa previous arrangement prior to the SC ruling nung Mandanas petition. So, sabihin ko na kung ano yung trend ngayon na So, kung titingnan nyo for 2021 and 2022, so medyo recent kasi to ang BLGF, based on data ng BLGF kasi to eh.
Yeah.
So, from in average po namin kasi compared doon sa nare-receive ng LGUs previously from 2017 to 2020. So basically pre-Mandanas ruling to eh. Ang share ng IRA sa total local income is 77%. 77% po ang share ng IRA sa total local income. So after the Mandanas ruling, Supreme Court Mandanas ruling, ang share na po ngayon ng NTA is now almost 80%. So from 77%, umangat po ng 80% ang share ng IRA/NTA. So lumaki po ang fiscal transfers na nanggaling sa national government to LGUs. But at the same time, so actually yung 80% actually is coming from the share po ng province yun, share ng province, 80%. Ang city, ang share po ng kanilang IRA NTA is around 49%. IRA NTA, city. Ang municipality, ang share po niya sa IRA NTA is 78% also. So basically, ang province at saka municipality have the same share in NTA. So almost 80%. Ang city po, ang share niya sa IRA is about 49%. So yun po ang ano, so basically ang share ng province, city, municipality, tumaas po ang share nila. But we also have to look at in terms of yung fiscal capacity ng mga LGUs. So while tumaas po ang share ng mga LGUs sa IRA, NTA, ang kanilang share ng kanilang local sources, local revenue source, mapapansin po natin, bumaba. Kunwari sa province, ang share ng local sources, or tingnan na lang po natin yung tax revenue, local tax revenue. So, from 2017 to 2020, 8% ang province. Etong 2021 to 2022, ang share po ng tax revenue ng provinces from 8%, 6% na lang. Ang city, from 44%, mas malaki ang binagsak po. 44%, 40% na lang. Ang municipality, from 70%, naging 14% na lang. So, kailangan po din natin medyo i-analyze din ng konti na while nag-increase po yung share ng nag-increase po ang share ng IRA to current operating income, pero ang share po ng local revenues to current operating income is bumaba rin. So, pwedeng ang ibig sabihin po nito is that kasi dati ang over-reliance, napansin na po natin yun, LGUs has been over-reliant in their subsidies from the national government. And hopefully sana with this new ruling, it expected sana that in a way it will improve fiscal capacity of the LGUs. Na sana yung kanilang share dun sa local source of revenues, real property tax, business tax, sana mag-increase din. But as the data would show na hindi po ganun yung nangyayari. Siguro, ito, medyo i-highlight ko lang ng konti ito, Sir Tony. Surprisingly, nagkakaroon po ng surplus ang mga LGUs. So, i-average ko na lang po. Ang average operating surplus of LGUs as a percent of operating income, average po from 2019 to 2022. Meron pong surplus ang LGUs ng 32%. 32% ng kanilang surplus. So bakit po I'm sure si Pierre Adrian has been showing or sasabihin niya kulang na kulang po yung pera ng LGUs pang implement ng local development activities. Pero as the data would show, meron po silang 32% surplus. Bakit po gayon? Bakit po gayon? Ang sa aming pag-aaral, ang isang source po nito, ang isang rason po bakit nagkakaroon ng surplus ang mga LGUs is yung weak absorptive capacity ng LGUs. Hindi nila kayang, kung titingnan po natin again yung datos, especially dun sa capital outlay budgets ng mga LGUs. Capital outlays, ibig sabihin yung mga infrastructure. Kung titingnan po natin yung datos, almost 50% lang po ng capital outlay ng mga LGUs ang nagagamit, ang nagagastos. Average 50%. Ang pinakamalaki po dyan, municipality. Ang municipality, almost 45% of their capital outlay, hindi po nila nagagamit. 45%. So bakit nangyayari ito? Bakit ang laki ng surplus at ang laki ng mga unutilized budget? So isang mga rason dito is weak technical capacity, poor planning and weak coordination. So for instance, a survey of 1,373 municipalities revealed that 5% lang po ang nakakapag-update ng comprehensive land use plan and only 40% ang nakakapag-update po ng kanilang comprehensive development plan. So, and finally siguro Sir Tony, yung mga LGUs kasi hindi very weak yung adherence nila sa procurement law. So I think those are the things that kailangan siguro pag-igihin pa yung capacity ng mga LGUs para more or less, while the funds are there, ang problema kasi is hindi na optimize ng LGUs yung paggastos ng kanilang pondo. Sir Tony,
Thank you, Per Noel.
Ah.
That's really indeed very interesting kasi biglang lumaki kasi yung kanilang income, and here they are faced with the problem of how to spend, no? Kaya
Yes.
nagkakaroon ng surplus. And that was in 2022. That was the first time na lumaki dahil
Yes.
doon sa year na yun na-implement yung Mandanas-Garcia ruling. So we'll talk about some implications ng Mandanas-Garcia ruling in terms of policy and operational issues. What do you think, Per Adrian? Ano yung mga operational issues dyan at the ground at Mindanao?
Well, very true yung sinabi ni Pierre Novel, no, na talagang maliit, no, yung kain ng mga allotted budget. In fact, yung Mindanao budget utilization in 2023 for the whole of Mindanao, it's just only 50%.
Naku,
Hmm.
For the provinces, it's 46%. For the
Mm.
city, 42%. And for the municipality, it's 59%. So
Oh.
sabi, this confirms, no, na municipality yung medyo talagang doing a better job in terms of utilizing their budget. The question, yun na nga, sabi is, what's the source of that? Well, the plain and simple reason is that some of the basic services that are expected, such as those infrastructures that are supposed to be provided, are not yet there. And so therefore, some of the associated services for welfare, education, nutrition, some other services that are soft in nature, easy
Yeah.
po yan. Yun po ang agarang nabibili. Yun po ang agarang na-acquire. But as to the capital outlay, it would really take time. Under the RA 9164 or the procurement law, it would require for the process 35 days to complete for the process. And notwithstanding the failure of the procurement. So usually, it would take time for that to consume. So you have already, therefore, the soft services and the soft capacities, pero kailangan pa that yung magagaling na mga tao who are the symbol of governance to reveal themselves in the remote places should reach those remote places with the roads, with the services, with the vehicles that are needed. So yun po, no, medyo nadadali po doon, no, on the procurement. For example, let me cite a good example na medyo napadali, no, yung ginawa, no, very artistic yung ginawa ng Taraka LGU. Taraka LGU is a municipality with 70% poverty incidence, no? It's a municipality in Lanao del Sur. They do not have water. And their capacity to pay for the services of a service provider for water is very nil. Maliit po talaga. Kasi nasa 22,000 households. So with long before, they do not have the capacity to provide for that. So under the local government code, under the 7160, ano ang ginawa nila? Because there is an impending capacity budget share of the Mandanas ruling, ginawa nila, nag-loan sila sa DBP. And with the capacity, expected capacity, kaya nilang mabayaran with that expected income share. So ngayon po, they have 6 solar-powered system, water system that can irrigate. One, it's now going to the households, 2,000 households in Taraka. That's one. Another is they could now irrigate their palayan because that Taraka is actually, in our term, basap. It's a granary for the palay. So, the policy therefore is shifting from, because the soft skills, the soft spending is there, madali lang, the people can be provided, but the next level would be on those hard skills, hard infrastructures, which the LGUs particularly need. So tama po yun, the need for the procurement, the increase the capacity. The second is to particularly look at the conflicting laws that are provided for unnecessary for the release of the budget, the CDP requirement, the CLUP requirement. Some of the LGUs need to update. That's a requirement. And also, those particular, yun na nga, na mentioned in our chat, there was this comment about the IPRA law and the local government code. Add to that even in our unique setup, in the Bangsamoro Organic Law 11059, the setup of that. However, with the promise of the Mandanas ruling, it's 2022 implemented, and the learning curve is there. Now, we are still experiencing, it's a birth pain. However, with the example of the Taraka LGU of saying, DBP provide us, because long before, they cannot acquire loans because of a low capacity of their income. So with the Mandanas ruling decision, it is already said we could pay that because of an increased budget share. And with that, they were able to provide in a swifter manner the implementation of the solar powered irrigation system. Of course, with the help of the Mindanao Development Authority. So there's also the need for the national government to capacitate also the local government units to meet the unique requirements of the LGUs. Yun na nga, 50% lang yung budget utilization, no? Pero kaya yan, no? Given the improved capacity.
Very interesting, Pierre, Eden. And of course, there's a really to point out that's a really a need to capacitate the LGUs given the additional sources that they have received. In terms of operational issues, Pernobel, what can the national government agencies can do, especially those yung mga naman na devolved, I mean na kasama sa mga devolved functions ng LGUs?
Siguro Sir Tony, let me address that question by parang discussing muna yung issues at the structural at saka sa policy level. When I say structural kasi, kung titingnan natin yung local government system natin compared relative sa ibang other countries, I mean, we will observe that masyadong highly fragmented yung local government system natin. Pag i-compare natin, kunwari, kasi tingnan natin, ilan ba ang LGUs natin from the province level, sa municipal and city. Tingnan na lang natin, compare na lang natin yung bansa natin with other countries in terms of yung number of first tier subnational government. Sa Philippines, pag sinabi natin siguro first tier, sabi na natin province level, and siguro while we don't have a regional but consider na rin natin yung So ang number of first tier subnational government natin sa Pilipinas is, well, let's just say 130 to 140. And compare that to a country like, much larger country like China and Indonesia, 32 lang. Both China and Indonesia. Thailand na 76. Vietnam na 61. So mapapansin mo, province pa lang yan. When you go much, much further sa municipality and sa barangay, super highly fragmented yung structure natin dyan. So I think there's this move to parang to merge other LGU
Ah.
units, considering siguro yung fiscal capacity, yung size of population, etc. na, no? So I think that has been already a reform action way back before, na sa sobra kasing dami ng LGUs natin. And in fact, nagka-issue pa nga yan sa cities eh. Nagkaroon pa ng Supreme Court with regard to the creation of the city. So from a structure point of view, medyo talagang highly fragmented na yung mga ano natin. So in terms of sabi ko nga kanina, yung pie, ganun pa rin. Parehas pa rin yung laki ng pie mo. Pero in terms of how you distribute this pie, lumi sa sobrang dami kasi nang nakikipag hatian
Okay.
doon sa pie na yon, lumilit yung share nila doon. So I'm sure in the immediate future, there will be further moves to increase the number of LGU units in the future. So from the structural point of view yun. So pupunta naman ako doon sa policy. And I think this has also been one of the major objective is to reform the local government code. And I just would like to cite one specific provision of the LGC, which is Section 17. Section 17 provides ito na yung clear expenditure assignment and revenue assignment.
Yes.
Very clear. Malinaw. Ano ang dapat sa LGUs, ano ang dapat sa national government. But at the same time, may isang provision din yon, Section 17, letter C, allows national government agencies to continue to implement devolved PAPs, devolved programs, activities, and projects, provided that these are funded by the national government under the annual GAA.
Yeah.
So, in a way, Section 17 confuses the implementation dahil sinabi na nga ito ang dapat gawin ng local government units, ito ang dapat gawin ng but Section 17 CC provides national government this additional power to implement supposed to be devolved function as long as this is funded by the annual GAA. So in a way, nagkakaroon tayo yung ating regulatory framework, nagkakaroon tayo ng sinasabi nilang two-track delivery system where both NGAs and LGUs can initiate devolved activities. So doon pa lang sa per Tony, per Adrian na kailangan before we go into full devolution, kailangan palagi namin ni Per Tony to na dapat klaro, finance follows function. So unless from the policy side at from the structural side, malinaw kung ano ang dapat ginagawa ng bawat isa, I think hindi po natin ma-achieve yung ano dapat ang intent ng full devolution na to. Very shortly, Sir Tony, doon sa sinasabi mo na so ano ba dapat ang gagawin? So having said that, yung habang sinasabi ko yung kanina na but here are the things that kailangan gawin ng national government to ensure effective implementation of the full devolution. One, increase information sharing and coordination activities with LGUs. Kailangan malinaw which function and services are to be downloaded, what LGUs can expect from NGAs, what will be the NGA-LGU setup relation in 2017 and beyond. So this addresses common issue raised by LGUs is the lack of NGA-LGU information sharing. Kulang na kulang. Second, yung mga devolution transition plan ng NGAs and LGUs, sinasabi nila almost complete na ang submission ng LGUs ng kanilang DTAs. But how are these aligned?
Yes.
Ang na-approve pa lang sa NGA, 3 pa lang. DOH, DOF, PAPCOM. But how these NGA DTAs and ang LGUs are aligned is something that kailangan. Kaya nga, I think this is the intention of the President nung sinabihan niya sa NEDA na do a full study of the full devolution. Pag-aralan niyo mabuti. Fourth is, kailangan tumulong na rin yung academe and CSOs to help refine yung mga devolution transition plans and to assist LGUs to review and enhance their plans. And siguro lastly, Sir Tony, ito malaga. Dapat we should encourage inter-LGU cooperation in
Yeah.
preparing for full devolution to link and harmonize efforts within provinces or regions. In fact, naalala ko yun nung ano kami ni Sir Tony nung umiikot-ikot kami sa regions na ano yung link kasi ng planning and sa budgeting. So
Yeah.
nung pumunta kami doon sa RDC sa Region 3 ata Per Tony yun na ano.
Yeah,
So
Region 3.
sinabi sa amin, so based on the RDC, ito yung kanilang in-endorse na budget to DBM, to the national government. Tapos, out of that endorsed budget ng RDC, ang sinasabi sa amin ng RDC, usually, ang ina-approve ng DBM or national government out of that regional budget is siguro 60 to 80% or 75%. So, ibig lang sabihin nun kasi na ano, while kasi yung RDC development plan naman kasi nanggagaling bottom up naman yun from the LGUs, provinces up to the region. So in a way, kung titignan mo, kung assuming ginagawa naman talaga yung trabaho ng mga LGUs in terms of development planning at pataas, inaakyat naman nila sa RDC and RDC endorsing it to DBM. But pagdating naman sa DBM, hindi naman nila kino-consider, fully consider. Of course, yun naman kasi is nanggagaling on the ground yung mga plans na yun But if ganun yung practice na hindi naman talaga fully sinusunod ng national government yung mga plans na yun and at the same time nag-i-insert sila ng kanilang then yung planning and budgeting link kasi nagkakaroon ng break. So I think those are the things. Siguro baka si Pierre Adrian would have sa nito experience especially sa Mindanao. So yun yung mga nakikita namin parang mga on the ground other than yung sa policy at saka structural level. Yung mga challenges dito sa pag attain natin ng full devolution.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Per Nobel. So, what are your thoughts, Per Adrian? Very interesting.
Yeah, correct. Oo, ganda nga, no? It's actually exposing the whole field, no? But I have a theory also that while we have that as a problem, we could move forward, such as when there is that promise of an increased budget share, that it also increases the confidence of the local government units to become more courageous in providing what were left out. No? For example, mas nagiging courageous talaga din yung BARM. Kasi by next week, April 24, meron ng BARM Airways. Kasi because that's also a result of the substance taking shape. Kasi there's now a particular support by the national government and the support on the budget in addition to the Black Fund to the BARM. Then the Mandanas ruling is also sharing a bigger budget, then they are now sensing a bigger capacity, and so therefore that provides also elevates the confidence. And also in Mindanao there are true to what was mentioned by Pierre Novel, now the need really to do an amalgamation, technical amalgamation. For example, in the province of Cotabato, there is already that grouping of the Alamada group of the municipalities there, and also in Zamboanga there is the Ultama Olotanga Mabuhay Talusan, which is actually an amalgamation, technical amalgamation. They just agree on themselves. O meron kang bulldozer dyan, wala akong bulldozer, hindi ko makaya ngayon, I cannot buy it now, can I borrow immediately? So they are actually doing it. And so the services are provided, and the agency and the local government units could therefore focus on what are most important to be delivered. Again, we need looking at now the LGU contribution to economic services is only 17%, and the spending on the general services is 59%. We need to reshape that by creating attractiveness on the part of the local government units to confirm also, subscribe, yung sinasabi ni Pierre Nouvel na dapat yung mga LGUs provided with additional budget can also improve the way and increase the services and efficiency of the local government units. Yun na nga, sinasabi natin, the BARM is already saying we have the BARM Airways already. It's a Cessna could provide 4 to 6 passengers to go to Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi, the Basolda areas. And in all places also, let me just mention another experience, no? In a place here in Davao del Norte, Davao region, that was long far, no? It's a remote place that straddles in the boundary of the areas, no? Bukidnon and somewhere there. Sinasabi natin long before hindi yan mapasok, no? Kasi of the security problem. Pero ngayon, it's now an area where people could spend, no, their tourist activities, recreation. Bakit? It's because people first demonstrated governance. Second, the services follow. The third is the infrastructure. Meron na pong daan. So, therefore, the increase on the general services spending is expected. Second is provision of the presence of governance. It's politics, of course. The leadership, of course, and the third would be the physical infrastructures that are left out, no, yung hindi, no, we're able not to spend on that kasi iba yung thinking, iba yung shaping, and iba yung understanding of the limited budget. Kaya po,
Thank you very much, Pierre Adrian. There's really a lot of topics to be discussed and issues to be resolved regarding local governance. And that is very, very interesting. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to Pierre Adrian and Pierre Nouvel for sharing your thoughts and sparking great conversation to today. And of course, the journey towards local governance is complex and challenging, but with the continued dialogue and collaboration, we can pave the way for more responsive and effective local government. And thank you to everyone who joined us live in Facebook. Remember that the road to better governance might be bumpy, but it is all about improving things for everyone. Have a great day and keep pushing for progress. Thank you. Thank you very much.